November 23rd, 1944. 20,000 feet over the Rhine River. Lieutenant Frank Gus Grissom gripped the yoke of his P-51 Mustang, knuckles white beneath his flight gloves. Below, the river glinted like a shard of steel in the moonlight. Ahead, 3 glowing orbs hovered in a tight equilateral triangle, silver-white, smooth as polished metal, no wings, no propellers, no trace of exhaust. He'd flown 50 combat missions over Europe, seen Messerschmitts, Focke-Wulfs, even the rare Me-262 jet. This was different. The orbs darted left as Grissom banked his Mustang, matching his turn with fluidity that defied aerodynamics. He pushed the throttle to war emergency power, climbing 2,000 feet in 30 seconds, but the object stayed with him, neither gaining nor falling behind. When he reached for his radio to call his wingman, they shot straight up, accelerating faster than any aircraft he'd ever seen, and vanished into the darkening sky. No sonic boom, no trail, just empty air where they'd been. Grissom landed at his base in Belgium 45 minutes later, his flight suit soaked with sweat despite the frigid cockpit. He stumbled into the squadron operations tent, where his commander, Major Robert Hank Miller, sat poring over mission reports. Grissom's voice cracked as he described the orbs. Miller looked up, his expression hardening. "Quit wasting time with fairy tales, Grissom," he said. "You were probably looking at St. Elmo's fire or a reflection off your canopy. Get some sleep. You're flying again at dawn." But Grissom knew what he'd seen. He'd seen a Foo Fighter, a term Allied pilots had coined that autumn, borrowed from the French faux crazy and the slang foo from cartoonist Bill Holman's Smokey Stover comics. By war's end, more than 200 Allied air crews, bomber pilots, fighter jocks, even transport crews, would file reports of similar objects. Some described disc-shaped craft with rotating rims that glowed blue. Others saw cigar-shaped vehicles that emitted orange sparks. All shared a single, unnerving trait. They moved in ways no known aircraft could. They hovered motionless, then accelerated to 300 miles per hour in seconds. They turned without banking, as if unaffected by gravity. They avoided anti-aircraft fire with impossible agility. The U.S. Army Air Forces launched a secret investigation codenamed Project Sign in December 1944 to study the sightings. Initial findings, compiled by intelligence officers in Paris, dismissed the objects as atmospheric anomalies, enemy decoys, or pilot fatigue. But as reports piled up from seasoned veterans like Grissom, not green recruits, doubts grew. In January 1945, a B-24 Liberator crew reported a Foo Fighter pacing their formation for 40 minutes over Bavaria, even matching their evasive maneuvers when German flak opened fire. The crew's navigator, Lieutenant James Watson, took a photograph of the object, but the image was blurry, showing only a faint glowing circle against the night sky. The photo was classified secret and shipped to Washington, D.C., where it vanished into archives for decades. What Allied intelligence didn't know then was that the Foo Fighters were not accidents of nature. They were the product of a Nazi secret project codenamed Honebu, a German portmanteau of Hound and Abu, a nod to the craft's oval shape. The project's roots stretched back to 1939, when the SS began funneling funds into fringe scientific research, convinced that exotic weapons could deliver Hitler's 1,000-year Reich. The man in charge was SS Obergruppenführer Hans Kammler, ruthless engineer who had overseen the construction of Auschwitz and the V-2 rocket program. Kammler reported directly to Hitler, who viewed the Haunebu as a potential Wunderwaffe, a wonder weapon that could reverse Germany's fading fortunes. The Haunebu's origins lay in the work of an Austrian inventor named Dr. Victor Schauberger. Born in 1885, Schauberger had spent decades studying the movement of water and air in nature, developing theories about implosion propulsion, a system that used rotating fluids to create lift and reduce drag. Unlike traditional engines, which burn fuel to generate thrust, Schauberger's design relied on spinning a mixture of water and ethanol at high speeds to create a negative gravity field. He claimed this field would allow a craft to float and move without producing noise, heat, or exhaust. Most physicists dismiss the idea as pseudoscience, but the SS saw promise. In 1940, Kammler summoned Schauberger to Berlin and gave him a laboratory in Linz, Austria, plus a team of 50 engineers and unlimited funding, on one condition. He had to build a working prototype within 2 years. Schauberger's first attempt, the WWII, was completed in March 1942. It was a disc-shaped craft, 15 feet in diameter, with a rotating copper drum at its center. The drum, lined with magnetic coils, held 50 gallons of a water-ethanol mixture. Electric motors spun the drum at 10,000 revolutions per minute, creating the implosion effect Schauberger had theorized. On its first test flight at a secret airfield near Linz, the WWII lifted off vertically, hovered 10 feet above the ground for 30 minutes, and landed smoothly. It reached a top speed of 90 miles per hour, slow by combat standards, but it proved the concept was viable. Schauberger's notes, preserved in Austrian archives, described the craft as silent as a moth, cool to the touch, even after 30 minutes of operation. The SS was delighted. Kammler ordered Schauberger to scale up the design for reconnaissance missions. The result was the Haunebu-II, completed in June 1943. This craft was 25 feet in diameter, with a larger copper drum and more powerful magnetic coils. It could reach 250 miles per hour and stay airborne for 90 minutes, with a range of 600 miles, enough to fly from Berlin to London and back. It was equipped with a 35mm camera mounted in the nose, though it had no weapons. The Haunebu-II was tested at a remote facility near Prague, Czechoslovakia, now known among historians as Deichschluss, the Lock, a former brick factory surrounded by barbed wire and guard towers. Forced laborers from their Seisenstadt concentration camp, who built the facility's hangars, later reported seeing silver discs lifting off at night, glowing like blue lanterns. But the Haunebu-II had critical flaws. The rotating drum often overheated, causing the craft to lose altitude suddenly. On one test flight, the drum seized and the Haunebu-II crashed into a forest, destroying the prototype. The magnetic coils interfere with compasses and radios, making navigation nearly impossible. Worse, the craft was unstable in winds above 20 miles per hour, useless for combat missions over the turbulent European skies. Schauberger blamed the issues on poor manufacturing. The copper drum, he argued, needed to be machined to within 0.001 inches to maintain the implosion effect. But with Allied bombing raids disrupting Germany's industrial supply chains, the SS could only provide low-quality copper, riddled with impurities. Schauberger's team spent months refining the design, replacing the copper drum with one made of nickel-plated steel, but progress was slow. By 1944, the war was collapsing around Germany. The Allies had invaded Normandy in June, and Soviet troops were advancing through Poland toward Berlin. Kammler, now desperate, ordered Schauberger to build a combat-ready version of the Haunebu, the WWII. This craft was 45 feet in diameter, with 3 rotating drums, 1 central, 2 smaller ones on the wings, for increased lift and speed. It was armed with 2 20mm MG 151 cannons, mounted in retractable turrets, and could reach 400 miles per hour, faster than the P-51 Mustang's top speed of 437 miles per hour at altitude, though the WWIII's speed was consistent across all altitudes. It had a range of 1,200 miles, enough to reach Moscow or New York, though the latter was never seriously considered, and return. Construction of the WWIII began in late 1944 at an underground facility in Breslau, Poland, now Wrocław. The facility, carved into a limestone quarry, had 10 hangars, a test track, and a power plant fueled by coal from nearby mines. Forced laborers from the Auschwitz concentration camp, 1,200 men, women, and children, were brought in to dig tunnels and assemble components. Conditions were brutal. Workers received 200 grams of bread per day and slept in wooden barracks without heat. By January 1945, 50 workers had died from starvation, disease, or execution for slacking. If you found this interesting, give a thumbs up to show your support. Drop a wonderful in the comments to let me know you're still with me. Stick around till the end, because I'll reveal 3 mind-blowing facts you won't want to miss. Haven't followed yet? Hit that follow button so you won't miss our next deep dive. Trust me, the best is yet to come. The first WWIII prototype was completed in February 1945. Its test flights began that month, conducted mostly at night to avoid Allied reconnaissance. On February 17, 1945, the craft flew from Breslau to Vienna and back, a distance of 300 miles, without refueling. The pilot, SS Obersturmführer Erich Schmid, reported the craft handled like a dream, though he noted it still struggled in high winds. A Polish resistance fighter, Jan Kowalski, who was hiding in the woods near the Breslau facility, took a photograph of the WWIII during one test flight. The image, now stored in the Polish National Archives, shows a disc-shaped craft with central dome, sitting on a concrete pad surrounded by SS guards. It is the only known photograph of a completed WWIII. It's this prototype that likely explains the Foo Fighters sightings of late 1944 and early 1945. Allied pilots encountered the WWIII during its test flights over Germany, France, and the Low Countries. The craft's glowing appearance came from ionized air around its rotating drums, a side effect of the implosion system, which charged the air molecules with electricity. Its ability to hover and accelerate quickly was due to the negative gravity field Schauberger had created, which reduced the craft's effective weight by 70%, and its lack of visible wings or engines made it look otherworldly to pilots used to propeller-driven fighters and bombers. One of the most detailed Foo Fighter encounters involving the WWIII occurred on March 5, 1945, when a squadron of 6P-47 Thunderbolts encountered a single disc-shaped object over the Ruhr Valley. The squadron leader, Captain John Jack Bradley, later wrote in his combat log, "The object was silver, about 40 feet across, with a black stripe around its middle. It hovered for 10 seconds, then accelerated straight up. We gave chase, but it was gone before we could get within firing range." No noise, no exhaust, just gone. Bradley's wingman, Lieutenant Thomas Tom Carter, added, I checked my instruments twice. It was moving at least 500 miles per hour. Nothing we could touch it. The WWII was never used in combat, though. By March 1945, the Breslau facility was surrounded by Soviet troops. Kammler ordered the prototype destroyed, along with all plans and notes, to prevent them from falling into enemy hands. On March 18, 1945, SS troops dynamited the facility's tunnels, burying the WWII under tons of rock. Schauberger was arrested by the SS 2 days later, accused of sabotage for the project's delays. He was taken to a concentration camp near Linz, but American troops liberated the camp in May 1945. Schauberger's health had deteriorated. He weighed 90 pounds and suffered from tuberculosis, but he survived. After the war, the WWII project faded into obscurity. The Allies, focused on rebuilding Europe and confronting the Soviet Union, showed little interest in Schauberger's work. The Yuzov's Project Sign, which had been investigating Foo Fighters, was disbanded in 1946, with its final report dismissing the sightings as unexplained but not hostile. Schauberger was interrogated by American intelligence officers in 1947, but he refused to share details of his implosion system, fearing it would be used for weapons. He moved to Austria in 1948, where he died in 1958 at the age of 73. His notes, which he had hidden in a salt mine during the war, were donated to the Austrian National Library in 1990, though 40% of the pages are still classified by the Austrian government. In the decades since, the WWII project has become a staple of conspiracy theories. Authors like Erich von Daniken have claimed the Nazis reverse-engineered extraterrestrial technology to build the WWII, and that surviving craft were flown to Antarctica or South America after the war. But declassified documents, including SS budget reports, Schauberger's notes, and witness statements from forced laborers, tell a more grounded story. The WWII was a real project, but it was a failure. It never reached mass production. Only one WWII was completed. It never saw combat. It was a product of Nazi desperation, a last-ditch attempt to build a weapon that could outmatch the Allies' numerical and technological superiority. The Foo Fighters, then, were not extraterrestrial visitors. They were German experimental aircraft, built by a regime on the brink of collapse. They were a testament to the ingenuity of engineers like Schauberger, even as they were twisted by the SS brutality. And they were a reminder that war can push science to its limits, sometimes for good, sometimes for ill. For Allied pilots like Frank Grissom, the Foo Fighter sightings remained a puzzle for decades. Grissom went on to become a NASA astronaut, fly on the Gemini 3 and Apollo 1 missions. In a 1972 interview with Aviation Week, he said, "I never thought those objects were from outer space. They were too human. They made mistakes. They wobbled in the wind. They looked like something a bunch of engineers had cobbled together in a basement. But they were ahead of their time. Way ahead." The WWII's legacy extends beyond its role in Foo Fighter sightings. Its design influenced post-war aircraft development, albeit indirectly. In the 1950s, the U.S. Air Force launched Project Silver Bug, a secret program to build a disc-shaped reconnaissance craft based on Schauberger's implosion system. The project, led by German scientists brought to America under Operation Paperclip, produced a prototype that could hover for 10 minutes, but it was canceled in 1953 due to technical difficulties. The Soviet Union also studied the Honeybue, recovering fragments of the Honeybue-3 from a Breslau facility in 1946. These fragments influenced the design of the MiG-105, an experimental vertical takeoff aircraft that flew in 1976. Today, evidence of the Honeybue is scarce. A few pieces of the Honeybue-3's nickel-plated drum are stored in the Deutsches Technik Museum in Berlin, donated by a Polish engineer who helped excavate the Breslau facility in the 1960s. Schauberger's notes, though incomplete, are available to researchers at the Austrian National Library, offering a glimpse into his unorthodox theories. And the Kowalski photograph, while faded, remains a powerful reminder of the project's existence. The Honeybue story also raises important questions about the ethics of scientific research. Schauberger was a brilliant inventor, but his work was funded by the SS, built by slave labor, and intended to serve a murderous regime. Did his innovation justify the suffering it caused? The answer is clear: no. The Honeybue was a weapon of war, designed to prolong a conflict that had already killed millions. Its technical achievements cannot erase the blood shed to build it. In the end, the Honeybue answers a question. Were the World War II Foo Fighters real? Yes, but they were not UFOs. They were German experimental aircraft, born from desperation and built with cruelty. They were a last gasp of Nazi engineering, a glimpse of what might have been if the war had dragged on. And they were a reminder that even the most outlandish sightings can have a down-to-earth explanation, one rooted in the chaos, ingenuity, and tragedy of World War II. The Foo Fighters are gone now, but their memory lives on. Every time a pilot reports an unidentified flying object, every time a conspiracy theorist claims the Nazis had UFOs, we're reminded of the Honeybue. It was a real project with real people, real flaws, real dreams. It didn't win the war. It didn't change the course of history. But it did something else. It made Allied pilots question what was possible. It made them look up at the sky and wonder. And in war, wonder can be a powerful thing, even if the answer is just a silver disc built by desperate men flying into the night.